The stars looked cold and distant from the bridge of the UES Dauntless. Captain Hanju stood with his hands behind his back, watching the endless black of space. His ship moved slowly through the border region between human and Niveri space. This area had been quiet for months, but Han felt uneasy. "Captain, you should rest. You've been on the bridge for 16 hours, said Lieutenant Su Min as she approached him. Han shook his head. "I can't sleep, Su. Something doesn't feel right." The UES Dauntless was a mid-sized warship, built for speed and power. It wasn't the biggest ship in Earth's fleet, but it was one of the toughest. The crew of 80 had served together for 3 years. They were like family now. "Sir," called out Park Ji from the communication station. "Message from Earth Command. Priority 1. Han walked quickly to Park's station. Put it on screen. The face of Admiral Lee appeared. He looked worried. "Captain Han, our long-range sensors have detected a large Niveri fleet moving toward the Proxima colony. This colony has 10 million people and very little defense." Han felt his heart beat faster. His wife Min and their daughter lived on Proxima colony. "How large is the fleet, sir?" Han asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "At least 30 warships, maybe more," said Admiral Lee. "We're sending all available ships, but they won't arrive for at least 48 hours. And the Dauntless. What are our orders?" Admiral Lee's face grew serious. "You're the only ship close enough to help. You must delay the Niveri fleet until reinforcements arrive." Han understood what this meant. The Dauntless against 30 Niveri ships. It was a suicide mission. "We'll do what we can, sir," Han said. "Good luck, Captain." Earth Command out. The screen went dark. Han turned to face his crew on the bridge. They had heard everything. Their faces showed fear, but also determination. "Set course for the Procyon system," Han ordered. "Maximum speed." "Course set, Captain," replied the navigator. Han pressed the button for ship-wide communication. "All crew to the main hall in 10 minutes. I need to speak with everyone." 10 minutes later, Han stood before his entire crew. Some had been sleeping and still looked tired. Others had been on duty and wore their work uniforms. All looked nervous. "I won't lie to you," Han began. "We've been given a difficult mission. A Niveri attack fleet is heading for Proxima colony. We are ordered to delay them until reinforcements arrive." Chief Engineer Kim Dae raised his hand. "How many ships, Captain?" 30, maybe more." A murmur ran through the crowd. Everyone knew what those odds meant. "This is a volunteer mission," Han continued. "I won't order anyone to do this. The Dauntless has 2 shuttles. Anyone who wishes to leave can take a shuttle to the nearby outpost at Vega Station." Lieutenant Su stepped forward. "My family was killed by the Niveri 3 years ago. I'm not running away." Chief Kim nodded. "The Dauntless is my home. I stay with my home." One by one, the crew voiced their support. No one mentioned the shuttles again. Han felt pride swell in his chest. "Thank you. Now, I need ideas. How does one ship fight 30? Communications Officer Park raised her hand. "We don't fight them directly. We use the asteroid belt in the Procyon system for cover. Hit and run." "Good thinking," Han agreed. "Chief Kim, can we get more power to the engines and weapons?" Kim scratched his chin. "I can push the reactors to 120% for short bursts. It's risky, but it will give us more speed and firepower." "Do it," Han ordered. "Lieutenant Su, I want new tactical plans. Use the asteroids, use everything we have." "Yes, Captain," Su replied with determination in her eyes. "We have 16 hours before we reach the Procyon system," Han said. "Rest, prepare, say your prayers if you have them. This will be the fight of our lives." As the crew dispersed, Han went to his quarters. He took out a small hologram device and activated it. The smiling faces of his wife Min and their 5-year-old daughter Sun appeared. "I'm coming to help," he whispered to the image. "Hold on." He had not told the crew about his family on Proxima. A captain needed to be impartial, focused on the mission. But in his heart, Han knew he would do anything to save them. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called out. Lieutenant Su came in, carrying a tablet. "Captain, I have some initial tactical plans." Han put away the hologram. "Show me." Su displayed a map of the Procyon system. "The asteroid belt has 3 dense regions. We can use them as cover and set up ambushes here, here, and here." She pointed to different areas on the map. "If we can separate their fleet, we might be able to take out their scouts and smaller ships," she continued. "It won't stop them all, but it might slow them down." Han studied the plan. "This is good, Su, but it will take perfect timing and a lot of luck." "We make our own luck, sir," Su replied. Han smiled for the first time that day. "Yes, we do." The next 16 hours passed quickly. The crew prepared the ship, checked weapons, and strengthened shields. Chief Kim worked nonstop in engineering, pushing the ship's systems beyond their designed limits. "The reactor modifications are done," Kim reported from engineering. "We can go to 120% power, but only for 3 minutes at a time. After that, we need 5 minutes to cool down." "Understood," Han replied. "It will have to be enough." Officer Park had been analyzing Niveri communication patterns. "Captain, I've intercepted some Niveri transmissions. They don't know we're coming. We'll have surprise on our side, at least initially." The Dauntless dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Procyon system. The asteroid belt loomed ahead, a field of rocks ranging from car-sized to mountain-sized. "Slow to half speed," Han ordered. "Passive sensors only. Let's not announce our presence." The ship moved quietly into the asteroid belt. The navigation team worked carefully to avoid collisions with the larger rocks. "Niveri fleet detected," announced the sensor operator. 32 ships, moving in formation. "They'll reach Proxima Colony in 20 hours if they maintain current speed." Han took a deep breath. "This is it. Battle stations. All crew to their posts." Alarms sounded throughout the ship as everyone moved to their assigned positions. The ship's lights dimmed to conserve power, leaving the bridge bathed in the soft glow of instrument panels. "Lieutenant Su, target the lead scout ship," Han ordered. "Chief Kim, I need full power to weapons." "Weapons at maximum," Kim reported from engineering. Su aimed carefully. Target locked. Han gripped the arms of his command chair. "Fire." The Dauntless's main cannon fired a bright beam of energy that cut through space. It hit the Niveri scout ship before they could raise shields. The enemy vessel exploded in a flash of light. "Direct hit," Su exclaimed. "They'd spotted us," Park warned. "Niveri ships changing formation. 5 vessels breaking off to pursue us." "Just as we planned," Han said with grim satisfaction. "Take us deeper into the asteroid field. Maximum speed." The Dauntless accelerated, weaving between massive space rocks. The 5 Niveri ships followed, firing energy weapons that mostly hit asteroids. "Prepare for maneuver, Alpha," Han ordered. "Chief Kim, I need that extra power now." "Reactor going to 120%, Kim reported. "You have 3 minutes, Captain." The Dauntless suddenly turned and accelerated around a large asteroid. The ship shot forward with incredible speed, circling back behind the pursuing Niveri vessels. "We're behind them," Su reported. "They haven't spotted us yet." "Fire all weapons," Han commanded. The Dauntless unleashed everything it had. Energy beams and missiles struck the rear Niveri ships. 2 exploded immediately. A third spun out of control and crashed into an asteroid. 2 destroyed, 1 disabled. Su reported. 2 are turning to engage. "Reactor overheating," Kim warned. 1 minute left at this power level. Han knew they couldn't take on 2 Niveri warships in direct combat. "Execute maneuver beta." Back into the dense asteroid field. The Dauntless turned again, racing toward a thick cluster of asteroids. The 2 remaining Niveri ships followed, firing continuously. "Shields at 80%, reported the shield operator. "Hit on our port side." The ship shook. A console exploded, injuring a crew member. 30 seconds of extra power left, Kim called out. Han watched the asteroid field getting closer. Hold course. The Dauntless plunged into the dense field, narrowly avoiding collision with several large rocks. Cut power now, Han ordered. All stop. Silent running. The ship went dark, floating motionless among the asteroids. The two Naveri ships raced past, unable to see the Dauntless in the thick field of rocks. They missed us, Park whispered. Han nodded. For now. But that was just 5 ships out of 32. The crew looked at each other. They had won the first battle, but the war had just begun. And they all knew that even if they fought perfectly, even if they gave everything they had, the odds of survival were almost zero. But they weren't fighting for themselves. They were fighting for the 10 million people of Proxima Colony, for the future of humanity. Repair teams to damaged sections, Han ordered. Chief Kim, cool down the reactor and prepare for another power boost. We'll attack again in 10 minutes. The battle for Proxima Colony had begun, and the UES Dauntless would fight to its last breath. The bridge of the UES Dauntless was quiet. The lights were dimmed to save power. Captain Hanju looked at the ship's status report and frowned. They had been fighting for 6 hours, using hit-and-run attacks against the Naveri fleet. The Dauntless had managed to destroy 4 more enemy ships after their first success, but the cost had been high. Damage report, Han ordered. Lieutenant Su Min checked her console. Shields at 42%. 2 missile launchers not working. We have lost power on decks 3 and 4. Casualties? Han asked, his voice tight. 8 dead. 15 injured. 6 seriously. Su replied quietly. Han closed his eyes for a moment. 8 good people gone. And this was just the beginning. Captain, called Officer Park Ji from communications. I'm picking up Naveri transmissions. They're splitting their fleet. 20 ships still heading for Proxima Colony. The rest are spreading out to search for us. Han nodded. Their plan was working, at least partly. The Naveri were taking longer to reach the colony because they had to deal with the Dauntless. But 20 ships were still more than enough to destroy the colony's small defense force. The ship rocked suddenly as something hit it. We've been spotted. Su shouted, 3 Naveri destroyers approaching from Sector 4. Evasive maneuvers, Han ordered. Full power to engines. The Dauntless shot forward, weaving between asteroids. The 3 Naveri ships followed, firing energy weapons that melted rocks into clouds of dust. Chief Kim, Han called over the comm. I need more speed. The engines are already running hot, Captain, Kim Day replied from engineering. His voice sounded tired. But I have an idea. It's dangerous, but it might work. Tell me, Han said. I can bypass the safety systems and inject coolant directly into the fuel mixture. It might give us a short boost of speed, maybe 140% of maximum for about 1 minute. Side effects? Han asked, knowing there had to be a catch. It could burn out the engines completely. We might lose all power. A nearby asteroid exploded as a Naveri energy beam hit it. Chunks of rock hammered the Dauntless's shields. Shields at 38%, reported the shield operator. We can't take much more of this. Han made his decision. Do it, Kim. We'll head for the densest part of the asteroid field. Maybe we can lose them there. Understood, Captain. Preparing for speed boost. Ready in 30 seconds. Han turned to navigation. Set course for the Kappa sector. That's where the asteroids are thickest. Course set, Captain. The ship shook again as another near-miss sent asteroid fragments crashing against their shields. Shields at 31%, came the report. Kim, Han called. Ready, Captain. Activating now. You have 1 minute of boost. The Dauntless surged forward with incredible speed. The stars seemed to stretch as the ship pushed far beyond its design limits. The pursuing Naveri ships fell behind, unable to match the sudden acceleration. "It's working," Sue exclaimed. The dense asteroid field grew larger on the view screen. The navigation officer worked frantically, calculating a safe path through the dangerous region. 30 seconds of boost remaining, Kim reported. Engine temperature critical. The Dauntless plunged into the thick cloud of rocks. Asteroids the size of buildings floated all around them. The navigation officer's hands flew over the controls, making tiny adjustments to avoid collisions. 10 seconds, Kim warned. Engine failure imminent. "Find a hiding spot," Han ordered. "Something large enough to conceal the ship." "There," Sue pointed to a massive asteroid on the screen. "That one has a crater on one side. We could hide there." "Do it," Han commanded. The ship changed course slightly, heading for the giant space rock. "Boost ending now," Kim reported. There was a loud bang from somewhere in the ship, and the lights flickered. Main engine offline. Switching to secondary thrusters. The Dauntless slowed dramatically but managed to reach the crater on the asteroid. The ship settled into the natural hiding spot, just as the Niveri destroyers entered the asteroid field. "All power off except life support and minimal sensors," Han ordered. "Silent running." The bridge went almost completely dark. The crew waited, barely breathing, as the enemy ships moved through the asteroid field, searching for them. "They're using scanning beams," Park whispered. "If they point one directly at us, they'll find us." Minutes passed. The Niveri ships moved closer. One passed directly overhead, its scanning beams sweeping just meters from their position. Then, slowly, the enemy ships moved away, continuing their search in another part of the asteroid field. "They missed us," Sue said with relief. Han nodded. "For now. Chief Kim, what's the status of our engines?" "Not good, Captain," Kim replied. "The main drive is burned out. I can repair it, but I need at least 3 hours." "You have 2, Han said. "The Niveri fleet gets closer to Proxima Colony every minute we sit here." "I'll do my best, sir." Han turned to Park. "Any communications from Earth Command?" Park shook her head. "Nothing new. Reinforcements are still 35 hours away." Han didn't say what everyone was thinking. In 35 hours, the battle would be long over, one way or another. In engineering, Chief Kim worked frantically to repair the damaged engine. His hands were burned from touching overheated components, but he ignored the pain. 3 other engineers worked with him, passing tools and replacing damaged parts. "Hand me that plasma cutter," Kim said to one of his team. As the young engineer passed the tool, the ship shook slightly. "What was that?" Kim asked. "Asteroid collision," replied the ship's computer. "Minor damage to outer hull, Section 14B. Kim sighed with relief. For a moment, he had feared the Niveri had found them again. He looked at the burned-out engine core. It was worse than he had told the captain. Normal repairs would take at least 10 hours. But Kim had an idea. It was risky, even crazy, but it might work. "We need to rebuild the containment field," he told his team. "But we don't have the right parts." "What can we do?" asked one of the engineers. Kim pointed to a different system. "We can take parts from the secondary shield generator. The ship won't have backup shields, but the engine will work." The other engineers looked concerned. Without backup shields, any significant damage to the main shields would leave the ship defenseless. "The captain said to get the engine running," Kim reminded them. "That's what we're going to do." They nodded and began working on Kim's plan. On the bridge, Han was studying the sensor data with Lieutenant Sue. "The Niveri fleet has maintained its split formation," Sue explained, "but the 20 ships heading for Proxima Colony have slowed down. They're being more cautious now." "Good," Han said. "That's exactly what we want. Every hour we delay them gives the colony more time to prepare and brings our reinforcements closer." Park called from her station. "Captain, I've been analyzing the Niveri communications. I think I've found a pattern." Han walked over to her. "What kind of pattern?" Their ships seem to report to the fleet commander every 15 minutes exactly. If a ship misses its report, the fleet commander sends 2 ships to investigate. Han thought about this. So if we could disrupt their communications, we could make them think more of their ships are in trouble. Park finished. They might split their forces even further. Can you create fake Naveri distress signals? Han asked. Park nodded slowly. I think so. I would need about an hour to program the computer. Do it, Han ordered. Then he turned to Sue. If we can thin out their fleet, we might have a chance to do some real damage. Sue looked hopeful for the first time in hours. We'll need to target their command ship. If we can take out their leader, it will cause even more confusion. Exactly, Han agreed. But first, we need our engine back. As if on cue, Kim's voice came over the comm. Captain, we have the engine working again. It's not pretty, but it will give us about 85% of normal power. Good work, Chief, Han replied. What did you have to sacrifice? There was a pause before Kim answered. The secondary shield generator, sir. We needed the parts. Han exchanged a look with Sue. They both knew what this meant. If their main shields failed in battle, the ship would have no protection. Understood, Han said finally. Prepare for engine restart in 30 minutes. We're going hunting. The next few hours were the most intense of the battle so far. With Park's fake distress signals and the Dauntless's surprise attacks, the Naveri fleet fell into disarray. The human ship would appear, strike hard at 1 or 2 enemy vessels, then disappear back into the asteroid field. By the 12th hour of battle, the Dauntless had destroyed 9 Naveri ships in total. But the cost was mounting. The ship's hull was breached in 3 places, sealed off with emergency force fields. The crew had suffered more casualties, 14 dead, 22 injured. The main shields were down to 17%, and weapons were running low on power. Captain Han stood on the bridge, looking at the tactical display. The Naveri fleet heading for Proxima Colony was down to 16 ships. It wasn't enough. They needed to do more damage. Captain, Sue said, looking up from her console. I've identified the Naveri command ship. It's the largest vessel in their fleet, near the center of their formation. Han studied the image on the screen. The Naveri command ship was massive, at least 5 times the size of the Dauntless. If we could take out that ship, Sue continued, it might throw their entire fleet into confusion. Han nodded slowly. But how do we get close enough? Our ship can barely hold together for another attack run. For a moment, everyone on the bridge was silent. Then Chief Kim spoke up from engineering. Captain, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. Han smiled grimly. At this point, Chief, I'm open to anything. We still have 2 shuttles, Kim said. I think I can modify one of them. Make it invisible to Naveri sensors. Han understood immediately. A stealth attack on their command ship. Yes, sir, Kim replied. We would need a small team to plant explosives at key points. It's a suicide mission, Sue said quietly. Han looked around at his exhausted, determined crew. They had already accomplished the impossible. Perhaps they could do it one more time. Get started on the shuttle modifications, Chief, Han ordered. I'll select the boarding team. As the crew moved to carry out his orders, Han thought of his wife and daughter on Proxima Colony. Everything they had done so far had bought time. But to truly save the colony, they would need to do something truly extraordinary. The Dauntless would need to strike at the heart of the Naveri fleet, against impossible odds. It would be the most dangerous mission yet, and possibly their last. The shuttle bay of the UES Dauntless was busy with activity. Chief Engineer Kim Dai worked frantically on one of the ship's 2 remaining shuttles. He had stripped parts from the second shuttle to modify the first. The small craft now looked strange, with extra panels attached to its hull and wires running along its surface. Will it work? Captain Hanju asked as he entered the shuttle bay. Kim wiped sweat from his forehead. In theory, yes. I've adapted some Niveri technology we salvaged from the ships we destroyed. Their sensors work on different frequencies than ours. This should make the shuttle invisible to them. In theory, Han repeated. Kim gave a tired smile. We won't know for sure until we try it, Captain. But it's our best chance. Han nodded and looked at the modified shuttle. It was their only hope of getting close enough to the Niveri command ship. The Dauntless had fought bravely for 18 hours, but the ship was falling apart. Main power was at 41%. Life support was failing on 2 decks. They had lost 23 crew members. Lieutenant Su Min joined them, carrying a small black case. The explosives are ready, Captain. Small but powerful. If placed in the right spots, they'll cripple the Niveri command ship. How many people do you need for the mission? Han asked. 4, Su replied. 2 to plant the explosives, 2 to guard our backs. Han took a deep breath. I'll lead the team. With respect, Captain, you can't. Su said firmly. The Dauntless needs you here. I'll lead the team. Han wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. The ship's captain couldn't leave on such a dangerous mission. Choose your team carefully, Lieutenant. Su nodded. I already have. Taho from security, Yoon Su from weapons, and Jin Woo from engineering. All volunteers. Han looked at their faces. They were young but determined. They knew the risks. Get ready, Han ordered. You leave in 30 minutes. As the team prepared, Han pulled Kim aside. How bad is the ship really? The full truth. Kim's expression was grim. We're running on backup systems for most functions. The main reactor is stable for now, but we've pushed it far beyond safety limits. If we get into another major battle. He didn't finish the sentence. Han understood. The Dauntless was dying, just like many of its brave crew. When Lieutenant Su's team succeeds, we'll make one final attack, Han said. Put everything we have left into weapons. We won't need the ship to last much longer. Kim was silent for a moment, then nodded. I'll prepare engineering, Captain. As Kim walked away, Officer Park approached. Captain, I have a plan to create a diversion while the shuttle approaches the Niveri command ship. Tell me, Han said. I can broadcast fake distress signals from multiple points in the asteroid field. It will look like several human ships are in trouble. The Niveri might send ships to investigate. Do it, Han ordered. Use everything we've learned about their communication patterns. Make it convincing. Yes, sir, Park said, and hurried back to her station. Han walked over to the shuttle where Su and her team were making final preparations. Lieutenant, a word. Su followed him a short distance away from the others. I haven't been completely honest with the crew, Han said quietly. My wife Min and our daughter Sun live on Proxima Colony. Su's eyes widened slightly. Captain, I'm not telling you this to influence your mission, Han continued. I'm telling you because someone should know why I pushed so hard, why I was willing to sacrifice this ship and its crew. We all have our reasons for fighting, Su replied. She hesitated, then added, 3 years ago, the Niveri attacked a research station in the Vega system. My parents and my younger brother were there. No survivors. Han hadn't known this. Is that why you volunteered for this mission? Revenge. Su shook her head. At first, maybe. But now. I just want to protect others from feeling what I felt. Humans or Niveri. Loss is still loss. Pain is still pain. Han looked at her with new respect. Come back alive, Lieutenant. That's an order. I'll try my best, Captain, she replied with a small smile. 20 minutes later, the modified shuttle launched from the Dauntless. It moved slowly and carefully through the asteroid field, heading toward the Niveri fleet. Inside, Lieutenant Su and her 3 team members sat in tense silence. Approaching Niveri fleet perimeter, reported Jin Woo from the pilot's seat. No sign they've detected us yet. Chief Kim's modifications are working, Taho said with a note of surprise. Don't celebrate yet, Su warned. The hard part is still ahead. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Han watched the shuttle's progress on a tactical display. The small craft was represented by a tiny blue dot, moving toward the massive Niveri fleet. "Officer Park, start the diversion now," Han ordered. Park nodded and activated her program. Fake distress signals began broadcasting from 6 different locations in the asteroid field. "Niveri fleet is responding," reported the sensor operator. 4 ships breaking formation, moving to investigate the signals. Han watched as several enemy ships moved away from the main fleet. "Good. Keep broadcasting. Make them think there are more human ships in the area." The blue dot on the tactical display moved closer to the largest Niveri ship. Everyone on the bridge held their breath. Inside the shuttle, Sue could see the massive Niveri command ship through the viewport. It was huge, with strange purple lights glowing along its hull. Dark weapon ports dotted its surface like hungry mouths. "Their patrol ships are moving away," Jin Woo reported. "Officer Park's diversion is working." "Take us in," Sue ordered. "Aim for that service hatch near the rear section." The shuttle moved closer to the enormous alien vessel. As they approached, Sue felt her heart pounding. If the Niveri detected them now, they would be destroyed instantly. "Almost there," Jin Woo whispered, as if afraid the Niveri might hear him. Preparing for docking. The shuttle glided toward the service hatch. Jin Woo expertly matched the shuttle's speed with the larger ship's movement. There was a soft thud as the 2 vessels connected. "Docking complete," Jin Woo reported. "Airlock seal is good." Sue turned to her team. "Remember the plan. Jin Woo stays with the shuttle. Tahoe guards our exit. Yoon Soo and I plant the explosives at the marked locations. We have 15 minutes to get in and out before the shuttle's power signature becomes noticeable to their sensors." They checked their weapons and explosive charges one last time. "Let's go," Sue said, and opened the airlock. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Han received the signal that the shuttle had successfully docked with the Niveri command ship. Now all they could do was wait. "Captain," called out the sensor operator. 2 Niveri ships are returning to the fleet. They must have realized the distress signals were fake. "Officer Park, can you make the signals more convincing?" Han asked. Park shook her head. "I've done everything I can. They're learning our tricks." Han turned to Chief Kim, who had returned to the bridge. "How much power can you give to weapons?" "Everything we have left," Kim replied. "But it will drain our reserves completely. We'll have maybe 10 minutes of full power, then nothing." "Prepare for it," Han ordered. "When Lieutenant Sue's team completes their mission, we'll make our final attack." Inside the Niveri command ship, Sue and her team moved through dark, curved corridors. The alien ship smelled strange, like metal and something sweet. The walls pulsed with soft blue light. "First target ahead," Yoon Soo whispered, checking a small device in his hand. "Should be their main power relay." They reached a large room filled with glowing purple tubes. Strange energy flowed through them like liquid light. "Set the first charge here," Sue ordered, pointing to a junction where several tubes met. Yoon Soo carefully placed the explosive and armed it. "Timer set for 20 minutes. "Let's move," Sue said. 2 more targets to go. They continued through the alien ship, avoiding Niveri crew members when possible. Twice they had to hide in small maintenance shafts as Niveri walked past. The aliens were tall, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. They spoke in clicking sounds that hurt human ears. The second target was the ship's communication center. Sue and Yoon Soo planted another explosive while Tahoe stood guard. "Last target," Sue said as they moved toward the engine section. "Then we can." She stopped as they turned a corner and found themselves face to face with 3 Niveri. For a moment, both groups stared at each other in surprise. Then the Niveri reached for their weapons. "Run," Sue shouted, firing her weapon. The corridor filled with energy blasts. One of the Niveri fell, but the others returned fire. Tahoe cried out as he was hit in the shoulder. Yoon Soo pulled him back around the corner. "They'll sound the alarm," Sue said. "We need to move fast. Tahoe, can you walk?" "Yes," he grunted, clutching his injured shoulder. They ran through the corridors, trying to reach the final target. Behind them, alarms began to wail. The sound was high-pitched and painful to human ears. There, Yoon-Soo pointed to a massive chamber ahead. Inside was the ship's engine core, a swirling mass of energy contained in a transparent cylinder. "Cover me," Sue ordered as she ran to the core. She placed the final explosive at the base of the cylinder and armed it. 15 minutes. Now let's get out of here. They turned to leave, but found their path blocked by a squad of Niveri soldiers. Energy weapons fired, filling the air with deadly light. Sue and her team took cover behind some equipment. "We need to find another way out." Tahoe pointed to a maintenance tunnel on the far wall. "There, it might lead back to the shuttle." "Go," Sue ordered. "I'll cover you." She fired her weapon repeatedly, forcing the Niveri to take cover. Yoon-Soo helped Tahoe into the maintenance tunnel, then followed him. Sue fired a few more shots, then ran for the tunnel. As she reached it, a Niveri energy blast hit her in the leg. She fell, crying out in pain. Yoon-Soo reached back and grabbed her arm, pulling her into the tunnel. "I've got you, Lieutenant," he said. "We're getting out of here." On the Dauntless, Han received an urgent message from Jin-Woo in the shuttle. "Captain, the Niveri have discovered us. Alarms are sounding throughout the ship. I'm still waiting for Lieutenant Sue's team." Han's stomach tightened with fear. "Stay as long as you can, Jin-Woo. They'll make it." He turned to Chief Kim. "Get ready for our attack run. Full power to weapons the moment those explosives detonate." Kim nodded grimly. "Everything is ready, Captain. The ship will give all it has left." Han looked around the bridge at his tired, determined crew. "This will be our final battle. The Dauntless has fought bravely. Now let's make sure her last fight counts." Jin-Woo waited anxiously in the shuttle, watching the airlock. The Niveri alarm continued to wail throughout the enemy ship. His communication device crackled. "Jin-Woo, we're coming to you through maintenance tunnels." Yoon-Soo's voice came through. "Lieutenant Sue is injured. Tahoe is hurt too. Be ready to leave fast." "I'm ready," Jin-Woo replied, powering up the shuttle's engines. "Hurry." 3 minutes later, the inner airlock door opened. Yoon-Soo helped Lieutenant Sue through, while Tahoe stumbled behind them, holding his wounded shoulder. All three were covered in dirt and blood. "Get us out of here," Sue ordered as Jin-Woo sealed the airlock. The shuttle detached from the Niveri command ship and moved away as quickly as possible. Almost immediately, enemy weapons began firing at them. The shuttle rocked violently. "Our stealth system is failing," Jin-Woo reported. "They can see us now." Sue dragged herself to the communication console, ignoring the pain in her leg. "Dauntless, this is Sue. Mission accomplished. Explosives are set to detonate in 9 minutes. We are returning to the ship, but we're taking fire." "Copy that, Lieutenant," Captain Han's voice replied. "We're moving to provide cover fire." "Hold on." The UES Dauntless emerged from behind a large asteroid. The ship looked badly damaged, with scorch marks across its hull and some sections exposed to space. But its weapons were still working. The Dauntless fired everything it had at the Niveri ships nearest to the shuttle. "There's our ride home," Sue said with a weak smile. The shuttle raced toward the Dauntless, while enemy ships fired at both human vessels. The shuttle's shields were failing fast. "Engine hit," Jin-Woo shouted as the shuttle lurched. "We're losing power. Can we make it to the Dauntless?" Sue asked. Jin-Woo checked his controls. "Maybe, if they can get closer." On the bridge of the Dauntless, Han watched the damaged shuttle approach. "Move us closer to them," he ordered. "Divert all remaining shield power to the side facing the Niveri." The Dauntless moved toward the struggling shuttle. Niveri weapons fire hammered against the ship's weakened shields. "Shields failing," reported the shield operator. "Down to 12%. "Keep them up long enough for the shuttle to dock," Han commanded. "That's all we need." The distance between the two human ships slowly closed. The shuttle was trailing smoke and debris now, barely moving. "Come on," Han whispered. "You can make it." Finally, the shuttle reached the Dauntless's shuttle bay. There was a rough bump as it landed, sliding across the deck before stopping against the far wall. "Shuttle docked," announced the shuttle bay operator. "It's in bad shape, Captain." "Send medical teams," Han ordered. "Get them to sick bay immediately." He turned to Officer Park. "How much time until the explosives detonate?" 5 minutes, Captain," she replied. Han nodded. "Chief Kim, give us everything the ship has left. We're going to hit them one more time." In the shuttle bay, medical teams helped Sue and her injured team members onto stretchers. Sue tried to sit up. "I need to get to the bridge," she insisted. The doctor pushed her back down. "You've lost too much blood, Lieutenant. You need treatment." "There's no time," Sue argued. "The ship is making its final attack." The doctor looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "Fine, but I'm coming with you." On the bridge, Han was plotting the Dauntless's final attack when the doors opened. Lieutenant Sue entered, supported by the doctor. Her uniform was torn and bloody, and she could barely stand. "Lieutenant," Han said, surprised, "you should be in sickbay." "Wouldn't miss the end, Captain," Sue replied with a weak smile. "Did everyone make it back?" Han nodded. "All 4 of you. How much damage did you do to their command ship?" "If the explosives work as planned, they'll lose main power, communications, and engine control." "Perfect," Han said. "Now we just need to finish the job." The tactical display showed the Niveri fleet still in disarray. Some ships were searching for the Dauntless, while others continued toward Proxima Colony. The massive command ship sat in the center of their formation. 2 minutes until detonation," Park announced. Han took a deep breath. "All crew to emergency stations. Prepare for final attack run." The Dauntless moved out from its hiding place among the asteroids. The ship's engines strained as it accelerated toward the Niveri command ship. "They've spotted us," reported the sensor officer. "Multiple enemies locking weapons. Evasive pattern Delta," Han ordered. "But maintain course for the command ship." The Dauntless weaved between enemy weapons fire, taking hits but pressing forward. The ship shuddered with each impact. "Shields at 8%, came the report. "Hull breaches on decks 2 and 5. Han gripped his chair. "Hold together, old girl. Just a little longer." 1 minute to detonation, Park said. The Niveri command ship grew larger on the view screen. Several enemy vessels moved to block the Dauntless's approach. "We won't get through their defensive line," Sue said, watching the tactical display. Han's expression hardened. "Yes, we will. Auxiliary power to forward shields. Prepare to ram the closest blocking vessel." The crew looked at each other in shock, but no one questioned the order. "Brace for impact," Han shouted. The Dauntless slammed into a Niveri cruiser at full speed. The enemy ship broke apart, but the human vessel also suffered catastrophic damage. Alarms wailed throughout the ship as systems failed. "Multiple hull breaches," shouted the damage control officer. "We're venting atmosphere on 3 decks." "Keep going," Han ordered. "Emergency power to engines." The damaged Dauntless pushed through the debris of the destroyed Niveri ship, still heading for the command vessel. 30 seconds to detonation, Park reported. "All weapons, target the command ship," Han ordered. "Fire everything we have left when the explosives detonate." The ship's remaining weapons locked onto the Niveri command ship. Everyone on the bridge watched the countdown. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. There was no sound in space, but the bridge crew could see 3 bright flashes erupt from different parts of the Niveri command ship. The massive vessel seemed to shudder, and its lights flickered and died. "Direct hit," Sue exclaimed. All 3 explosives detonated successfully. "Fire all weapons," Han commanded. The Dauntless unleashed its final attack. Energy beams and missiles struck the already damaged Niveri command ship. Explosions rippled across its hull as critical systems failed. "Their power core is destabilizing," reported the sensor officer. "It's going to blow." "Get us out of here," Han ordered. "Maximum reverse thrust." But the Dauntless had little power left. The ship backed away slowly as the Niveri command vessel began to break apart. "We won't clear the blast radius in time," Chief Kim reported from engineering. "The engines are failing." Han looked around at his brave, tired crew. "Launch all escape pods. Get as many people off as possible." "What about you, Captain?" Sue asked. "The ship needs its captain until the end," Han replied. "And someone needs to make sure those Niveri ships don't follow the escape pods." Chief Kim's voice came over the comm again. "Captain, I have an idea. If I overload the main reactor, the explosion will disable any Niveri ships nearby. It might give the escape pods a chance to get away." Han closed his eyes briefly. "How long will it take?" 2 minutes to set it up," Kim replied. "Then maybe 30 seconds before detonation." "Do it," Han ordered. "All non-essential personnel to escape pods now." The bridge crew hesitated. "That's an order," Han said firmly. "Get to the escape pods." Slowly, they began to leave their stations. Sue remained standing beside Han's chair. "You too, Lieutenant," Han said. "That's an order." Sue shook her head. "With respect, Captain, I'm staying. Someone needs to help you pilot this ship." Han wanted to argue but knew there was no time. "Fine. Officer Park, make sure all our records are transmitted to Earth Command. They should know what happened here." "Already done, Captain," Park replied as she headed for the door. "It's been an honor serving with you." As most of the crew evacuated, escape pods launched from the Dauntless. Small, glowing dots moving away from the dying ship. The Niveri command ship finally exploded in a massive flash of light and energy. The shockwave hit the Dauntless, pushing it further away. "Reactor overload ready, Captain," Kim reported. "On your command." Han looked at the tactical display. The remaining Niveri ships were in confusion after their command ship's destruction. Some were moving away from the battle, while others were turning to pursue the escape pods. "Position us between the Niveri and our escape pods," Han ordered. Sue, now at the navigation console, guided the crippled ship into position. 30 seconds until the Niveri ships are in range of our reactor blast," she reported. Han nodded and opened a channel to engineering. "Chief Kim, are you ready?" "Ready, Captain," Kim replied. His voice was calm. "It's been a privilege." "The honor was mine," Han said. "Start the overload." As Kim worked, Han opened a channel to all remaining crew. "This is Captain Han. The UES Dauntless has fought well. Thanks to your courage and sacrifice, Proxima Colony will survive. Earth Command knows what we did here. They will remember the Dauntless and her crew." He paused, thinking of his wife and daughter. "Some of us had personal reasons for this fight. Others fought simply because it was right. Whatever your reason, know that it mattered. You mattered." 10 seconds to overload," Kim reported. Han looked at Sue, who gave him a small nod. "The Dauntless gives her last breath to humanity," Han said. "And what a breath it is." The reactor overloaded. For a brief moment, the Dauntless shone brighter than any star in the system. The explosion sent out a massive energy wave that disabled all nearby Niveri ships. The escape pods continued their journey, safely away from enemy pursuit. 2 days later, Earth reinforcements arrived to find the Niveri fleet destroyed or retreated. Proxima Colony was safe. The escape pods were recovered, with 43 survivors from the Dauntless. 1 month later, a memorial was unveiled on Proxima Colony. A statue of the UES Dauntless stood in the central plaza. At its base were the names of all who had served and fallen with the ship. Below the names was a simple inscription: "They fought to the last breath. Because of them, we still breathe." And in a small house near the memorial, a little girl named Sun placed flowers beneath her father's name each week. She would grow up to become a starship captain herself Inspired by the father she barely remembered, but whose courage had saved her world.